Are you feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about how to scale your business sustainably? Do you have big dreams for your business, but you're struggling to turn them into reality? Or maybe you're just tired of sacrificing your health, your well being, time with your family, and your own self care, all in the pursuit of success. Not only is this not sustainable, but it can lead to increased stress and decreased productivity in the long run. Don't let the chaos of running a business hold you back any longer. Join our 12-month Real Women, Real Business Mastery program and start building the business of your dream with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to achieve six-figure plus revenue growth, rediscover your passion for your business, and say goodbye to overwork, then let's chat. Book a free business planning session at aboutshaunalynn.com/plan. Check out the link in the show notes. Well, hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Business podcast, where we empower passion-driven female entrepreneurs to achieve success without burnout. I'm your host, Shauna Lynn Simon. I'm a business coach. I'm an author. I'm a home staging and interior design expert. And I have a confession. I am also a recovering workaholic. I'm a serial entrepreneur and I've operated numerous successful businesses. If you've listened to the podcast before, you've likely heard my story of burnout. If you haven't, please go back to episode number 1, where I talk a little bit about my journey. But I want to talk a little bit today about how to recognize the signs of burnout and how to overcome it. So back when I was suffering from chronic fatigue, this was a result of my burnout back in 2017. I was super low on energy, but I was still pretty high in ambition. I still wanted to be an entrepreneur. Again, serial entrepreneur here. So I developed strategies into my daily routine that helped me to be able to get the most out of those few hours of energy that I had every day. And so now I help others to achieve their financial goals with a healthy work-life integration. And I'm on a mission to redefine how working hard looks and feels. I'm saying no more hustle, no more talk of having grit or self-sacrificing just to make another dollar. I'm talking about real sustainable growth without the stress, without the overwhelm, without the chaos. And yes, it is actually possible. But as a female entrepreneur, you've likely been led to believe that chaos and overwhelm and stress are all just a part of entrepreneurship. And let's be honest, you are a force to be reckoned with, right? You've built a business from the ground up. You're juggling countless responsibilities and you've conquered incredible challenges, all with grace and determination. But amidst the hustle and the bustle of entrepreneurship, it's easy to overlook one crucial factor, and that is your own well-being. And burnout can actually end up sneaking up on you, even in the most driven individuals. And trust me, I know this firsthand, but recognizing the signs and being proactive can help to prevent burnout. And it can honestly make all the difference. So I want to dive into the top signs of burnout and how you can avoid it like a pro. And here's the thing, before you tune me out, before you turn off this episode and say, I don't have to worry about burnout, this isn't for me. Let me be really clear to you here. If you are a female entrepreneur, I can promise you this is for you. I have yet to encounter a female entrepreneur who hasn't already either experienced burnout or who isn't currently experiencing burnout. This is a thing. This is so incredibly common. This is an absolute epidemic that female entrepreneurs seem to suffer from the most. Now, this is not to say that other entrepreneurs do not suffer from this, but predominantly we are seeing this in female entrepreneurs. And I have so many of my colleagues, my business coach colleagues, we talk about this all the time because we're all running into the same thing with our clients, where by the time they come to us, they are so overwhelmed, they are so stressed out, they are on the brink of just absolutely collapsing. And it's almost as though like I said, they've just been led to believe that this is just a part of things. So let's talk about some of the signs to watch for. First of all, how about exhaustion that just won't quit? Okay. You being tired, of course, is just par for the course. You're running a business, but if you're feeling like you're constantly drained, if you've had a good night's sleep, but you still feel exhausted, This is a very good early sign of burnout. So I want you to pay attention to your energy levels throughout the day and especially first thing in the morning, and really prioritize restorative activities like exercise and meditation, or even just simply unplugging for a little while and enjoying a little bit of downtime. And I curl up with a nice book or a cup of tea, whatever relaxing looks like for you. Even just going for a walk can be such an incredible reset. Now, another clear sign of being either on the verge of burnout or having actually burnt out is a lack of motivation. This is what ends up happening when we're starting to feel burnt out is we almost fall out of love with our business and we start to lose our passion and our drive, that entrepreneurial spirit that helped us to get to where we are. We're kind of resenting our entrepreneurship a little bit, feeling a little bit of lack of motivation. So if you're struggling to, muster up the enthusiasm for tasks that you really once got so excited about, and now they just feel like a weight on your shoulders, that's a good sign of burnout as well. You can combat this by setting very small, achievable goals, and seeking out new sources of inspiration as well. What gets you excited again? What's going to reignite that fire and that passion inside of you? Now, another great sign of burnout that I promise you is not just a part of entrepreneurship, but that is that an increased irritability. For me, I know when I'm pushing myself beyond the limits. I know when I'm stressed, when irritability starts to set in. So what does this look like? Well, you find yourself maybe snapping at all of your colleagues, your clients, your loved ones, especially more than usual. Or perhaps you just feel like everyone you seem to encounter in the world right now is just an absolute idiot. That is usually a sign that you're teetering on the edge of burnout as well. So in this case, I want you to practice some mindfulness. I've spoken in previous episodes about managing your stress levels and how stress management needs to be a habit, not just something that you practice when you need it. This is one of the reasons why you need stress management as a habit. So you start finding that you're a little extra irritable. This is where all of those wonderful stress management habits and techniques can come into play. So the other thing that I would recommend doing if you're finding that you're really irritable, especially with your loved ones, communicate with them. Explain to them that you are recognizing that you are not yourself and that it's unfair for you to be taking it out on them, and just ask for a little bit of grace while you're navigating this. And then don't be afraid as well to delegate some of your tasks. That will definitely help you to get a little bit of a breather and feel like you got a little bit of relief. Now, another sign of burnout, probably an obvious one, is just a decline in productivity. Despite your best efforts, you might notice that your productivity levels just aren't what they normally are. You feel like, I normally used to be able to get so much done. And I mean, I've talked about my experience, especially with burnout back in 2017. It ended up manifesting itself as chronic fatigue. And with this, I just literally didn't have the same energy levels that I once did. And so I had to learn how to adjust my schedule. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it did force me to create these strategies to be able to get more done in less time. However, we do still need to try to be as productive as possible as entrepreneurs. This is a part of our livelihood, right? So if you're finding that your productivity has gone down a little bit, that could also be a sign of burnout. So what I would suggest doing is do your best to take on smaller, less daunting tasks and break things down into much smaller chunks as opposed to these big projects. Really, really break them down into those small, more digestible, bite-sized, manageable tasks. And then, of course, burnout doesn't just affect your mental health and well-being, and it doesn't just manifest itself in irritability and a little bit of tiredness. There are some real physical signs as well. So I want you to keep an eye on this. Things like headaches, stomach aches, muscle tension, changes in appetite and sleep patterns. You know your body better than anyone else does. And so you are responsible for ensuring that you are really listening to your body. When it starts giving you some of these signs, I understand that you might be someone where you say, I get a headache about once a month anyway. Okay, so maybe getting a headache is not going to be a clear sign that burnout's on its way. But if you are getting more headaches more often, or a headache that just won't go away, that might be a sign. Decrease in appetite is usually a sign of stress, or perhaps change in appetite as in you're eating more, you're binging more, your habits are less healthy, you're finding yourself craving more of those comfort foods. That could be a sign of burnout as well. So don't ignore these warning signs, and be sure to make self-care a non-negotiable part of your routine. Now, another sign of burnout, and this is something that I will say, it's not just burnout where this manifests. This is a sign that there's something going on with your own mental health and well-being, and that is isolation. You might find yourself withdrawing from social interactions, maybe preferring to stay solo. And don't get me wrong, independent solo time, super important. Even as someone who lives alone, I am speaking to people all day long. And so I do need to ensure that I'm finding that time by myself to recharge, especially when I'm doing my speaking events. They're so exhilarating. Speak to any professional speaker and they will tell you, there's just such an energy that we feed off of from other people. And that really gets us going. But I got to tell you, if we don't spend a little bit of time by ourselves to recharge, and that's why sometimes, as speakers, we'll get invited out for dinner. And as much as we want to go, there's times where we're like, you know what, I actually just need to go to my hotel room and just kind of chill out for a little while. You need to recharge. So don't get me wrong. Alone time and isolated time is not a bad thing necessarily. But if you are finding that you're really struggling to make connections and stay connected with people, you want to cancel any plans that you're making, that can really be a sign of burnout. So really make an effort to push yourself a little bit out of that isolation as needed. Even if it's just something virtual, you're meeting up with someone for FaceTime, for a quick call or something like that. Or it could be something bigger, like attending a local event or networking event or something like that. But be sure that you are paying attention to that. And then certainly last but not least, a very common sign is neglecting self-care. Now, if you are someone where you've been neglecting self-care for some time, this might not raise as big of a red flag for you. But it is really easy for us as entrepreneurs to sort of put our own needs on the back burner, and especially to prioritize not only other people in our lives that may need us, but especially our business. But this is really going to set you up for burnout in the future. So make your own time for your self-care, whether it's, your healthy eating habits, your workout routine, going for walks, whatever it is that you need to nourish your mind, your body, your soul. Make sure you are prioritizing those activities and indulging yourself in the things that you enjoy and that you love, and making the time for those things. Okay, so now that we know what the signs of burnout are, how do we prevent it? So now that you know what to look for, we want to talk about some prevention. So here are some tips to help to ensure that we keep your entrepreneurial spirit running on fire for a very, very, very long time, but not something that's actually going to just burn out. We want to keep that ignited, okay? So the first tip I have for you is delegate. You do not have to do it all alone. This is a misconception that we as women especially have been led to believe is just a part of being an entrepreneur. And that is that if you're a solopreneur, it means you literally have to do everything by yourself. Absolutely not. There are so many tasks that can be delegated. So we need to identify where our highest value is, where our strengths are, and look to outsource other items, whether it's hiring an actual person to be on our team to do it, or perhaps it's a matter of bringing someone on as a virtual assistant for a few hours a week to assist with things like invoicing or bookkeeping or social media or whatever. Another way to help prevent burnout, and this is really hard, I'm not going to lie to you, you're going to struggle with this one a little bit, but that is to set boundaries. Just know when to say no and be able to honor your limits. This is a big challenge for most female entrepreneurs. We're often finding ourselves saying yes. We feel bad saying no. Here's what I would encourage you to do. The next time you find yourself having the urge to say yes to something that you know you really probably shouldn't say yes to, you don't have the time for it, you don't have the capacity for it, consider if there is a way to say yes to an alternative that is less taxing on you. So an example that I used recently with one of my clients was I was asked by one of our partners whether or not we could review. They were launching a new software and they said, hey, can we hop on a call? I'd love to show you how the software works. And, like, can we hop on a call so we can discuss it and I can get your feedback on it? And I really wanted to help them out. But because my schedule is just so busy, the thought of trying to schedule in another call would take away some of my flex time. And I need that flex time in order to maintain my well-being. And that's one of the boundaries that I try to set. So instead, what I asked them to do is I said, why don't you do a screen share video, walk me through it, and I can do a screen share video reply to you and give you my thoughts on it. And we can go back and forth like that. And this allows me to take back control of my own time. It's now on my schedule. This also allows me to ensure that, a phone call that we hop onto where we're going to have a whole lot of social niceties, and those are all great. Don't get me wrong, great connection. But those are going to take extra time that I just didn't have available to me. So the next time you find yourself wanting to say yes to an opportunity that's come your way because you feel like you owe that person something, or it may be kind of work to your advantage, consider if there is an alternative to saying yes to that would allow you to still be able to protect some of those boundaries. So ensure that you are identifying and recognizing what those boundaries are, and then really enforcing them as well. The next step for helping to combat burnout is to practice self-compassion. We are so hard on ourselves. Cut yourself some slack, would you? You are doing a fantastic job, but you're human. And so not everything is going to be perfect. You can absolutely reflect on things that maybe didn't go as well as you would have liked, to be able to identify how you might change things the next time something like that comes up again. However, I don't want you to beat yourself up for it. We need to be kind in how we speak to ourselves. Our bodies react to the words that we are saying to ourselves the same way that we would react to the words that someone else that we care about might say some negative words. We wouldn't tolerate it from someone else. Why would we tolerate it from ourselves? So instead, what I want you to do is, when you have those moments where you're like, that didn't go as well as I would have liked to, let's reflect on where you could improve on. Put some systems in place to help you to ensure a better success the next time, but also reflect on, what did I do really well here? Because it wasn't all a disaster, I'm sure. So celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, and be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. And then I also want you to think about investing in some support. This is probably one of the most important and most critical ways that we can help to prevent burnout. We do need a support system. Again, solopreneurship does not mean that you are doing this in isolation. So enlist the services of a business coach, join a mastermind group, seek therapy, invest in some sort of support from your community, get yourself an accountability partner, whatever it looks like. And I'm not saying you need to choose one or the other of any of these options. You can have multiple options here. Myself personally, I am pretty much at any time have an accountability partner, am a member of a mastermind group, and have a business coach. Now, there are times where some of these groups might end, or I'm in between coaches, of course. So that is certainly reasonable, though, that you will find yourself in those circumstances. But I find different value from each one of these different support resources. And the more I build my business, the more I need those supports. So find yourself what works for you, and find a balance of it, but make sure that that's a way of prioritizing your own self-care as well, is by investing in those support systems. And then make self-care non-negotiable. The best way to be able to make self-care non-negotiable is to define what you want it to look and feel like, because I think we're all a little bit different. For myself, being a runner, running at least a couple times a week is definitely a big part of my self-care. But in addition to that, I also try to get out for daily walks, which I'm not perfect at getting them daily, but I do it as often as I possibly can. Even something as simple as a cup of tea in the afternoon, that's a great way that I practice self-care. It's not necessarily about the cup of tea so much as it is take the time, boil the kettle, make the tea, sit down, and reflect. So what does it look like for you to maintain your well-being? Is it about doing meal prep, perhaps? Is it about reducing screen time? Is it about spending quality time with your kids at a certain time of the day? What does this look like? Really put a name to it, define what it looks like, and make it non-negotiable. Put it into the schedule. By being able to recognize the signs of burnout, we're going to be that much more prepared to be able to prevent it. So that's what I wanted to share here today was, how do we prioritize our well-being? This is one of your greatest assets, of course, is yourself, your well-being, your business. If you think your business can't run without you, what happens if burnout sneaks in and takes you out? Then what happens to your business? So we want to make sure that you are prioritizing yourself and your self-care and preventing burnout so that you can be successful and continue to thrive in your business. So if you're looking for some support with your business, I'm actually looking to take on 5 more business owners under my wing this month, where I'm going to provide the training, the coaching, the resources, and the accountability for you to reach your goals. If you're interested, if you want to take control of your business, your life, and find that balance that you deserve, I want you to book a free business planning session with me. Go to aboutshaunalynn.com/plan, PLAN, and book your free business planning session with me. We'll discuss your biggest challenges and even lay out like a personalized roadmap to help you to manage the stress and the overwhelm of building your empire. All right, that's what I've got for you today. If what I'm saying here today is resonating with you, then I really hope you will tune in next week and allow me to continue to be a part of your journey. Don't forget, of course, to leave us a review, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And you know what? The best thing you can do for a fellow female entrepreneur to support her on her journey is share this episode with her. Allow her to take part in this as well. I would so appreciate it. She would so appreciate it. Let's continue to support each other in this sisterhood. Until next time, everyone, I'm Shauna Lynn Simon, your host and your coach on this journey, and keep thriving.